Hello children, good morning. So here I am today with English reader class, and today we will do chapter 3, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So children, please open your book to page number 15 and get ready with your pencils so that you can underline the difficult words while we read the story. Alright, so do you know who wrote this story? This story, The Tale of Peter Rabbit, is written by Beatrix Potter. Here she is, Beatrix Potter. Alright, let's read about her. Beatrix Potter, 1866-1943, was a British children's author and illustrator. She is best known for her stories for children, such as those in The Tale of Peter Rabbit. She was very fond of nature and was a conservationist. So, Beatrix Potter, she was born on 28th July 1866 in London. She loved to draw and paint and often made sketches of many pets, and later she wrote stories about them. She is very much known for her stories for children, such as The Tale of Peter Rabbit, about which we are going to read today. Alright, before we start reading the story, let us know who are the main characters of this story. So, the main characters are Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit is the main character of this story. Okay. Next is Mrs. Rabbit. So, Mrs. Rabbit is Peter Rabbit's mother. Okay. Next is Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail. So, they are siblings. Okay, Peter Rabbit, Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, they are brothers and sisters. And the last one is Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor is the owner of the garden which is there in the story. Okay, so let us now start the story. The Tale of Peter Rabbit. Tale means short story. Okay, so this story is about a mischievous, disobedient, very naughty young Peter Rabbit who gets himself into a very dangerous situation. Now, as we read the story, we will unfold how he deals with the situation, how he gets through it. Have you ever forgotten your way to home? Did you remain calm or did it scare you? Share your experience with the class. Okay, so if you have any such experience, if you have forgotten your way to home or anywhere, how did you handle that situation? Were you calm or were you scared? So how was the feeling? You can share your experience with your parents, since we are not in the class, so you can talk about this with your friends, siblings, anyone. Okay, if you have any such experience. Alright, now let us start the story. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail and Peter. They lived with their mother underneath the root of a very big tree. Alright children, please underline the word underneath. It means below. Okay. So can you see the 4 little rabbits here? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 little bunnies, and this is Mrs. Rabbit. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail and Peter. They lived with their mother below the root of a very big tree. And one day Mrs. Rabbit, she called all the 4 little rabbits. Now let us find out why she called them. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident and he was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. So, the old Mrs. Rabbit advised the 4 little bunnies not to go into Mr. McGregor's garden. She said that they can go into the fields and play, but not into Mr. McGregor's garden. Now, why did she say like that? Why did she stop them or not allow them to go into Mr. McGregor's garden? Because once their father went into Mr. McGregor's garden, and you know what happened? He never returned back. That means he was killed by Mrs. McGregor. So she warned them not to go there. She said, I am going out for some work. You all go out in the field and play, but don't get into any trouble and don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Alright, children, here you please underline the word mischief. It means naughtiness. Alright, then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Here you please underline the word bakers. Bakers means a person who makes bread and cakes. And currant buns. Currant buns means sweet buns. Okay. So she took a basket and an umbrella and went through the wood, means through the jungle, to the baker's. Why did she go to the baker's? Because she had to buy a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns, sweet buns. Alright. Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. So, Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, they were very good bunnies. They were very obedient. Following their mother's advice, they went down the lane to collect some blackberries. You know what is blackberry? Have you ever seen? It is a kind of fruit. Wait, I'll show you. This is blackberry. Okay. So, the 3 little bunnies, Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, they went down the lane to collect blackberries. Children, please underline the word blackberries. Okay. And gather. Gather means to collect. So, here you underline 2 words, gather and blackberries. But Peter, he was very naughty. He did not listen to his mother and ran straight to Mr. McGregor's garden. He squeezed under the gate, means he pressed himself and managed to get through a narrow space. You please underline the word squeezed also. Okay, it means to press. Okay, Peter pressed himself to manage to get through the gate. Alright, now let's find out what he does there. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes, and then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Alright, children, please underline the word lettuce, French beans, radishes and parsley. These are all vegetables. So, what happened? As soon as he entered the garden, he started eating the vegetables. First, he ate some lettuce and then some French beans. And after that, he ate some radishes. When you eat too much, how do you feel? Your stomach gets upset, isn't it? So, Peter, after eating too much, he starts feeling sick. So, he looked for some parsley. And when he was going in search of some parsley, he had a misfortune of coming face to face with none other than Mr. McGregor himself. Okay, now let's see what happens next. Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rag and calling out, "Stop thief!" So Mr. McGregor was planting young cabbages in his garden when he saw Peter. But as soon as he saw Peter, he jumped up and ran after him. See here how he is chasing Peter. He ran after him waving a rag. So you can see here, this is a rag. Okay. So he was waving a rag and screaming, "Stop thief, stop!" Whom was he calling thief? Yes, Peter. He was calling Peter thief because he was quietly eating Mr. McGregor's vegetable in the garden, isn't it? Peter was most dreadfully frightened. So you underline the word dreadfully. It means extremely, very badly. And also underline the word frightened. It means afraid, scared. So Peter was very scared. He rushed all over the garden. Rushed, underline the word rushed. It means to run very fast, hurriedly. For he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He ran on and went faster. But unfortunately, he ran into a gooseberry net and got caught. You underline the word gooseberry. It is also a fruit. So what happened? When Mr. McGregor ran after him, chasing him, Peter got very scared, and in fear he forgot the way back to the gate, and now he was running all over the garden out of fear. He ran and ran and ran so fast that he went into a gooseberry net. Gooseberry is a fruit, okay, a grape like fruit of yellowish green or reddish color. He ran into a gooseberry net and got caught. Alright children, today we will read up to here. We will continue the story in the next class and find out whether Peter manages to escape or not, and if yes, then how he manages to escape. We'll definitely find out what happens at the end, but in the next class. So till then, you'll keep learning, and thank you for watching.